Welcome to Books and Coffee Chat, the podcast where we dive into the stories you love, the characters you can't stop thinking about, and the plot twists that leave you speechless. Every week, grab your coffee and join us for real, fun, and spoiler-free conversations about books that everyone's talking about. Let's get started.
Okay, let's unpack this. Imagine if one specific date on the calendar, year after year, held the key to, well, pretty much everything important in your life. The highs, the lows, the moments that completely change you.
Yeah.
Today, we're diving deep into Colleen Hoover's novel, November 9. It's a story that really twists and turns around this single recurring date.
It's such a fascinating concept, isn't it? How, like, one fixed point in time can be the source of so much trauma, but also maybe the path to healing.
Right.
So our mission today is to guide you through all the layers of this story. We want to show how this chance meeting becomes this really complex, years-long thing involving love, secrets, forgiveness.
And when we talk about understanding a character's full history, what do we really mean here?
Well, it's about getting into the whole picture, right? Their past experiences, the hidden reasons they do things, the stuff they carry around silently, not just what you see on the surface.
Okay.
And November 9 is, I think, a perfect example of how digging into someone's entire story, their full history, can just redefine everything you thought you knew.
So our story kicks off with Fallon. She's 18, about to make a huge life change.
Right.
And 2 years before this, on November 9th, she was in a terrible house fire, suffered burns, ended her acting career, at least the one she planned. And it left her with, physical scars, but also a lot of emotional trauma.
Ape scars, yeah. And she's meeting her father, who's kind of a big deal in Hollywood, one last time before she heads to New York for Broadway. But he's actually trying to talk her out of it.
Yeah, not exactly supportive.
No. And it's into this, already really tense and emotional situation that Ben just steps in. A total stranger.
Wild.
He sees them arguing, and then just like that, pretends to be her boyfriend to kind of break the tension.
Which is bold.
Very bold. And what's really interesting right from the start is how drawn he is to Fallon. Instantly. He even notices her insecurities about her scars, but tells her he was relieved to see that vulnerability.
Relieved? Why relieved?
He thought it gave him a chance to connect with her. He finds her, quote, beautiful as hell. And this immediate connection, given what we find out later about his history, it's complicated.
Okay, yeah. So this weird, unexpected meeting leads to this pact.
Mm-hmm. An unusual one.
They agree to meet every year, same date, November 9th. But zero contact in between. None.
Yeah, Fallon's kind of influenced by this idea of finding herself first, not getting lost in someone else before she's ready.
Right. You never will find yourself if you're lost in someone else. Her mom's advice.
Exactly. And they agree. No falling in love before they turn 23. Ben, who wants to be a writer, gives her homework date, guys. Try theater for his books, supposedly.
And she gives him books to read. It sets up this unique dynamic, but also, unknowingly, she's feeding into the story he's already building around her.
And that annual setup, it immediately creates this very specific kind of relationship, doesn't it? Built on these intense little snapshots in time.
Totally. So fast forward a year, 2nd November 9th. Ben's waiting for Fallon where they first met, Pinkberry.
But she doesn't show up. Her flight got delayed. Seems simple enough, right? A travel issue.
Yeah, but there's more going on under the surface with Ben.
A lot more. This particular November 9th, it's the 1-year anniversary of his brother Kyle's death.
Yeah.
Car accident.
Oh, wow.
And Kyle was texting while driving. Ben carries a huge weight of guilt over that.
Okay, here's where it gets really intense and where that idea of full history just explodes.
Okay.
Because what Fallon has absolutely no clue about at this point, and it only comes out way, way later in Ben's manuscript.
Yeah, the manuscript is key.
Is that this exact date, November 9th, is also the anniversary of his mother's suicide.
Devastating. She'd been fighting cancer. And then, this is the part.
Yeah.
On that same day, 2 years before Fallon met Ben, he accidentally set the fire.
The fire that burned Fallon.
Yes, at her dad's house,
Mm.
Donovan O'Neill's house. Ben didn't know Fallon was inside. His mom had been having an affair with Donovan, and Ben, in his grief and rage, blamed Donovan for her death.
Oh my God. So the connection to Fallon, it wasn't just random chance.
Not at all. Think about carrying that secret, that massive guilt. It's been driving his connection to her from the second he saw her. He wants to make her life better somehow, maybe to atone, while hiding this enormous dark secret that connects them.
It totally reframes everything he did in that first meeting.
Completely. It's a classic example of how someone's hidden history, their full story, can make their actions look one way, when the reality is something else entirely.
Mm.
He's drawn to her, yes, but also by this need to fix what he broke.
So the next year rolls around, 3rd, November 9th. Fallon's waiting, but Ben just calls. Can't make it.
And you can hear it in his voice, right?
Yeah.
He sounds awful,
Wow.
distressed.
Yeah, definitely not the same Ben.
He's completely overwhelmed, trying to keep his family afloat, supporting Kyle's widow, Jordan, and their baby nephew, Oliver, who's about to be born. It puts a huge strain on their little tradition. His own history is catching up and pulling him away.
Fallon's obviously disappointed, but you get the sense she feels something's really wrong. She's starting to see how heavy this date is for Ben, even though she still doesn't know the real reason why, or how it connects to her.
Exactly. His focus is entirely on his family's grief, his obligations. It shows how past trauma, like his mom's death, his brother's death, dictates his present choices. He's not entirely free to just be with Fallon.
Okay, 4th year, November 9th again. Fallon actually moves back to LA. She's hoping maybe this is it. They can finally connect properly.
Yeah, there's hope there.
And then Ben shows up, and he's holding a baby.
Oof, Oliver, his nephew.
And it becomes crushingly clear. He's with Jordan now, Kyle's widow. They're raising Oliver together.
Yeah.
And Fallon just crashes. Intense jealousy, hurt. She feels totally blindsided, lied to in a way.
It's absolutely a critical moment. The climax, really. Everything starts to unravel. Fallon runs off, overwhelmed,
To the bathroom.
and Ben follows her.
Yeah.
And that's when it all comes out. The whole devastating truth, his full history finally spoken.
He confesses everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
His mother's suicide on November 9th, her affair with Fallon's dad,
Yeah.
and his role in the fire that injured Fallon.
Wow.
He tries to explain how his first move, pretending to be her boyfriend, it was all tangled up with this crushing guilt, this desperate, maybe twisted attempt to make things right somehow.
I was just can't imagine hearing that. Fallon is completely shattered.
Understandably.
It's not just the lies, it's the scale of it, the fact that he is directly linked to her deepest trauma, the fire, that feeling of manipulation, of betrayal. It must be overwhelming. The person she was starting to trust, maybe even love.
Is the cause of her greatest pain.
Yeah.
The profound betrayal.
So she's furious, heartbroken,
Yeah.
and she gets a restraining order against him.
Which makes total sense as a reaction.
Right.
A defense mechanism.
Absolutely. Another year of silence. And for Fallon, this just cements it. November 9th is cursed. Definitely cursed.
And you see how her perception is just shattered of Ben, of the date itself. It's a moment for the reader, too. Everything we saw in Ben, the kindness, the attraction, suddenly looks different through this lens of guilt.
Yeah, the book really makes you grapple with it alongside Fallon. Like, how much does knowing the why, the full history, change things? Does it excuse it?
Does it explain it? Yeah.
Yeah.
It forces that ethical question.
Yeah.
How much does context matter for seemingly unforgivable actions?
So the 5th, November 9th arrives. Fallon spends it alone. She's convinced the date is just bad news, wants nothing to do with Ben.
Deeply hurt, completely distrustful,
Oh,
avoids all contact.
but then a package shows up.
The manuscript.
Ben's manuscript,
Right.
titled, of course, November 9, and there's a letter.
And in the letter, he basically begs her to read it, but for her sake, not his, to understand his truth. He says she saved him the day they met, gave him a new life purpose. Powerful stuff. Says she took his soul in her hands and his heart in her teeth when she left.
That's intense.
It really is. And this act of storytelling, giving her his narrative, it's incredibly powerful. It's not just facts. It's his perspective, his pain laid bare.
Does she read it right away?
No, she resists at first. But her mom finds it, starts reading, and that kind of pushes Fallon to finally pick it up.
And what happens when she does?
She gets pulled into his world, his grief over his mom, the cancer, the suicide letter that revealed the affair with her dad.
Oh, wow. The letter itself.
Yes. And the accident, the fire, his despair. It explains his whole journey, the guilt, and how loving Fallon somehow became his way forward, his new purpose.
It's interesting how the book uses a book, the manuscript, as the way for Fallon to heal. Like storytelling itself is the bridge.
Exactly. It's a powerful metaphor, isn't it? How sharing your authentic, full story can mend even these huge rifts of pain and misunderstanding.
It lets her see past the deception, maybe, understand the trauma that drove him.
Precisely. It shifts things from just forgiveness to a much deeper empathy. You start to understand the why. It doesn't erase what he did, but it provides the context needed to process it for Fallon and for us reading it.
It makes you wonder, what burdens are people carrying that we just don't see?
Right. And understanding that his complete backstory, even the painful parts, opens up a path Forgiveness not just for Ben, maybe, but for herself, too. Accepting her dad wasn't solely to blame. He was caught up in it, too. It really shows how unpacking that full history leads to empathy.
Okay, so finally, the 6th, November 9th. Fallon shows up early. She's nervous, but maybe hopeful. Things are looking up for her professionally, too, back in LA.
Yeah, there's a shift. And Ben arrives with Oliver, who's a toddler now, still committed to his family responsibilities.
So it's not like everything is magically fixed.
No, definitely not. But the reunion is charged. They start talking, really sorting through all the years of pain, the misunderstanding, the raw truth that came out.
And Fallon, now that she's read the manuscript, she understands the weight he's been carrying. And she does something remarkable. She forgives him, yes, but she says he doesn't need her forgiveness because his actions came from such deep trauma.
Wow.
Instead, she asks for his forgiveness for doubting him, for her part in the suffering during that year apart. It shows how much they've both grown.
That's huge. Real maturity there.
It is. And then Ben hints at a future, maybe selling his house, moving to New York, and he playfully spoils the ending, says he's going to propose.
With a book-worthy kiss?
Yeah, that rates a 12. I mean, tells her, this night, you're mine. I'll wait to make your breakfast the day after tomorrow, and every day after that until next November 9 when I'll get down on one knee.
So the story ends with them choosing to face the future together, accepting everything. The scars, visible and invisible, their whole complicated histories. And November 9th, this date that was a symbol of tragedy, it transforms, becomes about their love, their resilience. It shows that even the worst parts of your past can become part of a stronger future, right? If you understand them. Absolutely. And connecting this back to the bigger picture, it really makes you think, doesn't it? How would our perceptions change if we truly understood the entire tapestry of the people around us? Or even our own hidden stories?
That willingness to look past the surface, past the difficult stuff, to really hear someone's pain, their reasons.
It can lead to such profound understanding, a different kind of forgiveness, maybe.
So what does this mean for you listening? Fallon and Ben's story, it's a real reminder of how tangled our lives can get through trauma, through secrets.
Yeah.
Think about how much misunderstanding, how much pain could just melt away if we tried to approach difficult situations with that same curiosity, that empathy Ben's manuscript gave Fallon.
It's about realizing that love or connection isn't just about the happy stuff. It's about accepting someone's whole story, the messy parts, the painful parts, understanding how their complete backstory shaped them.
And that transformation of November 9th, from dread to love.
It teaches us that even the darkest chapters can be redeemed, not by erasing them, but by weaving them into a new story, a story of connection, of hope. It's about the power of revealing our own stuff, too, and the empathy that can come from understanding someone else's truth.
So the next time you're facing a tough situation or you just can't understand why someone acted the way they did, remember Fallon and Ben. What hidden histories, what full stories might you uncover if you really dared to deep dive?
And that's a wrap for today's Books and Coffee Chat. If you enjoyed this conversation, don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and share this episode with your fellow book lovers. Got a book suggestion or a hot take? Drop it in the comments. New episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. See you next time, and don't forget, keep reading and keep